In 2024, Disney announced a staggering $60 billion investment into their theme parks, resorts, and experiences over the next decade. This massive figure doesn't even account for the billion-dollar price tag of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the hundreds of millions lost on the short-lived Galactic Star Cruiser, or the unknown costs of modernizing attractions such as Tiana's Bayou Adventure. It begs the question, where does all of this money come from? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. Theme parks are expensive to visit, so they must rake in plenty of cash. But pause for a moment to consider what you're actually paying for. Theme parks operate like miniature cities, with staggering infrastructure and staffing needs. From the over 20,000 cast members keeping Disneyland running, to the electricity powering every ride, the plumbing for every bathroom, the meticulous maintenance ensuring safety, and even the nightly fireworks that they can't exactly recycle again for the next night. Keeping these parks running is an immense, costly undertaking. All of that is just scratching the surface, so do you really think your $104 to $200 park ticket goes a long way in covering all of that? The deeper you dig, the less it seems to add up. Theme parks are wildly expensive to build, operate, and maintain, so how exactly do they make money? Well, the answer is both simple and rather complicated, and they both involve you. But before we dive into it, we need to first explore a little history on Disney's theme parks. When Disneyland first opened in 1955, it cost a single US dollar for an adult to enter the park. Whilst this might seem like a bargain by today's standards, the park operated in a completely different manner to how it does today. This park entry did not cover the attractions themselves, and to experience each of the 35 attractions around Disneyland, you'd need to pay an additional fee. Disney did this in the form of ticket books, which included coupons to their attractions categorized from A to E based on the ride's demand and caliber. Disney didn't invent this method of operation, but adopted it from early carnivals. It made a lot of sense, as the entrance ticket would cover the costs involved with the operation of the park, and the ride tickets would cover the costs of the ride's operation. It was a smart system, as a new attraction could essentially pay for itself by selling tickets. Keep this in mind, it will come full circle later. Likewise, if a ride or experience wasn't meeting demand, you could easily phase it out, as nobody was really paying for it anyway. But in 1982, with the introduction of Epcot Center at Walt Disney World, Disney decided to phase out the ticket book and introduced passports that included every attraction that the park had to offer under a single price. This made life easier for the guests, but made the operation of their parks much more challenging. This method continues to this day. But most of the money that Disney makes from their theme parks isn't through the ticket price, because the profit margin for tickets is actually relatively slim. Now, profit margin, in simple terms, is the difference between the price of a product and what it costs to create that product. In the case of theme parks, creating the product isn't just about building rides, it's about maintaining an entire ecosystem. The costs of goods sold, or COGS, for Disney parks includes infrastructure upkeep, daily operations, and guest services. But it doesn't stop there. Disney also has to account for future construction and expansions. Why? Well, because guest attendance tends to decline the longer a park goes without adding something new. In essence, Disney isn't just selling a ticket, they're selling an evolving experience, and that evolution comes with a hefty price tag. Well, if they're not making a lot of money off the ticket price, then surely they must be making it on the scale that it's sold. It might seem logical that bringing more people through the gates would solve the problem. After all, more visitors means more revenue. Well, not exactly. Accommodating millions of guests annually comes with exponential costs. More guests means more employees, from ride operators and janitors to performers and customer service representatives. You need the utilities to support them, such as water, electricity, air conditioning, and others which scale directly with attendance. Rides, facilities, and infrastructure degrade faster with higher traffic, increasing maintenance costs. Likewise, food, beverages, restrooms, and other guest services must scale to meet demand, further eating into profit margins. In 2022, Disneyland alone saw 16.8 million visitors. At an average ticket price of around 142 US dollars, that's 2.3 billion US dollars in revenue from ticket sales over the year. Whilst that sounds like a lot, it's not exactly an honest number because of a caveat that Disney themselves have implemented. Ticket prices actually drop for each consecutive day a guest stays. This seems counterintuitive because the cost involved in servicing the guest doesn't change depending on how long they visit. You may have heard the term loss leader before. This is a pricing strategy where a company sells a product or service at a low profit margin, or even a loss, to attract customers with the expectation that they will spend more on complementary goods and services. While Disney likely doesn't sell tickets at an outright loss, the slim profit margin on tickets aligns with this strategy. Tickets are the gateway product, enticing guests into the parks, with our encounter numerous opportunities to spend on higher margin items. The bulk of their marketing and advertisements come from selling the experience of being in the parks with the rides, entertainment, parades, and fireworks, but the bulk of your personal expenses come from everything around that. The ticket price is almost negligible once you start factoring in food, merchandise, hotel stays, lightning lanes, and premium experiences. Disney knows that once you're inside, the opportunities to spend are everywhere. And the margins on these offerings are far higher than those on tickets. Take merchandise, for example. Those iconic Mickey ears, custom lightsabers, and limited edition items that fly off the shelves and sometimes spark literal fights amongst guests are often produced for just dollars, but sold at significant markups. Emotional attachment, exclusivity, and nostalgia drive guests to purchase these items in droves, turning them into one of Disney's most lucrative revenue streams. We'll touch on this more later. Disney also employs dynamic pricing strategies to keep their theme parks bustling year round. Instead of having pronounced busy periods or quiet ones, Disney adjusts ticket prices based on demand, ensuring that the parks maintain a relatively stable flow of visitors. During traditionally less popular times, such as weekdays, off seasons, or school terms, ticket prices are lower to entice visitors who might otherwise hesitate to come. Conversely, during peak seasons like holidays, weekends, and school vacations, ticket prices rise sharply to capitalize on that higher demand. What's fascinating is how this pricing model plays into consumer psychology. A lower ticket price during off peak times can create a sense of getting a bargain, which makes the decision to visit feel more justified. However, guests might not fully consider the additional costs that come with a trip to Disney, such as hotels, food, merchandise, and transportation. This perceived deal often encourages guests to splurge in other areas. Feeling like they've saved money on admission, they may justify staying at a Disney resort instead of a cheaper off-site hotel, upgrading to a dining plan, or purchasing premium experiences like Lightning Lane or Park Hopper passes. The result? Disney recoups the discounted ticket price many times over through these ancillary spending opportunities. In essence, dynamic pricing isn't just about managing park attendance. It's a sophisticated strategy to draw visitors in and set the stage for them to spend even more once they're there. The reason Disney can sell its products with such high profit margins is because Disney isn't just an entertainment company, it's a luxury brand. Its movies, TV shows, and streaming services aren't just products, they're tools to build emotional connections with its stories and characters. These connections keep Disney culturally relevant and prime consumers to invest in its premium offerings like cruises, theme parks, and resorts. There is a reason why Disney continues to push the imagery of a castle at the start of all of their feature films, and why their most popular theme parks have the same icon as their centerpiece. Hell, after we went on a Disney holiday, my dad used to say "been there" at the start of every Disney movie. This emotional attachment works hand in hand with Disney's commitment to maintaining high standards across its luxury experiences, though some might argue they've faltered slightly in recent years. These high standards reinforce Disney's reputation for exclusivity, making spending on its products feel natural and even justified. Though this perceived value didn't just materialize overnight, it's the result of continuous investment, often at extraordinary cost. Consider the $1 billion Star Wars Galaxy's Edge expansion at Disneyland, or the $1.1 billion upgrades to Disney's California Adventure not just a decade ago, and the further $60 billion being spent in the future. These projects aren't just about adding attractions, they're about reinforcing the idea that Disney's offerings are unmatched in quality, theming, and immersion. Likewise, they're putting the characters that you have an emotional connection with at the moment in their parks. Once this perceived value is established, Disney can justify higher prices across its product lines, from hotel stays to exclusive merchandise. Even ventures such as Golden Oak, where they have literal multi-million-dollar mansions on Walt Disney World property, are more about maintaining that luxury status than the desire to run an elite estate. Research supports this psychological phenomenon. Studies show that consumers often equate higher prices with higher value, validating Disney's price strategies. So why doesn't Disney simply price their tickets at a large premium to ensure they make a sizable profit right at the gate if they know people are happy to pay for it? Well, the answer lies in competition. Despite being the industry leader, Disney operates in a competitive market with other major players like Universal Studios, Six Flags, and regional amusement parks. If Disney raised ticket prices too high, they could alienate price-sensitive visitors who might opt for cheaper alternative. Raising the ticket by $10 may prevent somebody from spending thousands. Instead, Disney strategically prices its tickets competitively to draw you in. Once you're inside the park, the real revenue generation begins. Bear with me for a moment, but let's talk about flying. It's well known that airlines make the bulk of their profit from first and business class, while economy passengers get a more stripped down experience, but arguably the best value for their money. In much the same way, Disney's theme parks follow a vaguely similar model. The entry ticket is essentially economy class. Just like how economy gets you on the plane with the basics, the entry ticket gets you into the park with the basics. Everything else? Well, that's not guaranteed, and if you really want to ensure that you can see the shows and ride the rides, then you have to pay for it. This is enabled through Lightning Lane. Lightning Lane is barely over a year old, but is already a pivotal part of the Disney park experience. So much so that Imagineers are now being told to incorporate expected Lightning Lane revenue into their pitches and ideas for new attractions, which, don't get me started on the irony of a company that built its legacy on imaginative storytelling, but now expects its creatives to forecast financial performance alongside their ideas. Lightning lanes come in various forms, but at its core, it's a paid upgrade that guarantees faster access to an attraction or show. You can purchase them individually for the major attraction in each park, in a package for the other Lightning Lane eligible rides in the park, or you can get the Premier Pass that gets you onto everything at any time you choose. All of this is very confusing, and it's by design. The mechanics of Lightning Lane aren't the focus here, though. What matters is what Disney is trying to achieve with it, and it's working. The goal is to make rides and attractions financially self-sustaining. A clear example of this is the Lightning Lane Premier Pass. At Magic Kingdom, for $449 plus tax, you can buy a pass that grants one-time access to each Lightning Lane attraction in the park at any time of your choosing on that day. After only being available for a month of the busy Christmas and New Year's period, this pricey upcharge, nearly double the cost of park entry, sold out across multiple days. Disney has emphasized that the pass is offered in very limited quantities, but even if they sold just 1,000 passes per day, that's close to $500,000 in additional revenue per day from this pass alone, and that's just in one of the 4 Walt Disney World parks. But you might be wondering, how does review time make a profit? This video is sponsored by Raycon. We travel a lot to visit theme parks. Having spent over 200 hours on planes, trains, and automobiles, you quickly learn that reliable earbuds are a must if you want to remain not just comfortable but connected, which is why we're excited to be working with Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds are the perfect travel companion, offering premium audio that goes where you go. Many of the flights we take out of Sydney are over 8 hours long, but with 32 hours of battery life and active noise cancelling, we can trust these earbuds will get us through not only the flight, but also whatever transfers we need to do afterwards in peace and comfort. Not only that, but with an IP66 weatherproof rating, we don't need to panic whenever the weather shifts, which, if you're in Tokyo or Orlando, happens quite a bit. I have a lot of other earbuds, but with all of these features, I can easily see these being my go-to theme park travel buds. Not only that, but they just look really cool. We are big fans of the color blue here at Review Time, so we of course couldn't resist the royal blue earbuds. But the Galaxy protective case cover we got with them is just chef's kiss. If these sound like earbuds for you and you want to help support the channel, go to buyraycon.com/reviewtime to get 15% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get 15% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/reviewtime. And now, back to the video. So, why is this happening when just 5 years ago Disney was offering almost the exact same thing for free with FastPass? Well, FastPass was never designed to drive revenue. It was a tool to manage crowds. Guests could reserve ride times at no extra cost, spreading demand and reducing wait times across the theme parks. This approach aligned with Disney's philosophy of providing a seamless, magical experience. Back then, Disney's parks were highly profitable through ticket sales, merchandise, and food, with little need to monetize every facet of the guest experience. Today, however, the landscape has shifted, both due to external pressures and Disney's own decisions. Operating costs have surged from inflation, rising wages, and ambitious expansions. To offset these costs, Disney has leaned heavily into dynamic pricing and premium upcharges. With consumers increasingly willing to pay for convenience and exclusivity, Disney saw an opportunity to monetize what was once free. At the same time, the parks are bearing the financial weight of Disney's broader business choices. Massive investments in Disney Plus, a focus on sequels and live action adaptations, and aggressive acquisitions like Fox have drained resources. The parks, once just one part of Disney's empire and still a very profitable part of Disney's empire, are now shouldering much of the burden, passing the costs on to guests. For a long time, Disney Plus wasn't making money, and the parks were pretty much covering those costs. In short, Disney's Lightning Lane is a modern reinvention of their historical ticket book system, but with extra steps and a much higher price tag. But Lightning Lane is just one piece of the puzzle of how Disney makes money. Disney has devised many other strategies to generate significant revenue from their theme parks beyond the initial ticket sale, with one of the most effective being what could be called the theme park equivalent of shrinkflation. In recent years, Disney realized they could maximize profits not by extending a single long theme park day, but by selling access to the same park multiple times in a single day. This strategy involves splitting the day into distinct segments, each with its own ticketed access. For example, a park might start with early entry for on-site hotel guests. This isn't something that you can buy per se as a ticket, but it's added onto their already expensive hotels, followed by regular park hours for day visitors, where additional upgrades like Lightning Lane are readily accessible. and then close early for a separately ticketed after-hours event, such as Halloween or the Christmas parties or whatever party they've come up with. I think there was a retro night recently. This means that on any given day, Disney can effectively sell the park several times over, charging guests for each window of access. For guests planning to stay from open till close, this approach can make for an incredibly expensive day. You're paying for regular admission ticket, but if you want to experience the park's evening offerings during a special event, you'll need to buy an entirely separate ticket. Through this model, Disney transforms a singular day of operations into multiple revenue opportunities, capitalizing on guests' willingness to pay for exclusive time-limited experiences. Tickets, passes, and premium experiences like Lightning Lane are some of the most obvious ways Disney maximizes revenue. They're just the beginning, though. Beyond admissions, Disney has mastered the art of turning nearly every aspect of the park experience into a profit center, including something as seemingly simple as food and drinks. Take a cheeseburger with fries on Disney property. It'll set you back around $14. The actual cost to Disney in raw ingredients and staffing is nowhere near that, but they understand their food is a commodity. Guests are willing to pay a premium because for many, time is more valuable than the cost of the meal. Sure, you could leave the park, hunt down a fast food chain, and get something cheaper, but by the time you exit, find a restaurant, order, eat, return to Disney property, clear security, and scan back into the park, you've likely wasted an hour or more of time you've already paid for. For most guests, that's an hour better spent enjoying the attractions. Disney is also a master of marketing when it comes to food. Many snacks and drinks have become integral to the Disney experience because of how they're promoted as must-try items. Think churros, Galaxy Edge's blue milk, New Orleans Square's mint julep, or Frontierland's iconic turkey leg. These aren't just snacks. They're part of the narrative Disney crafts around its parks. By embedding these items into the Disney experience, they create a sense of clout, making them highly shareable on social media with millions of posts featuring these quintessential park treats. The results? These simple food and beverage items are priced to match their elevated status as part of the Disney experience. You have not gone to Disneyland unless you've had Dole Whip, so when you go, you have to get the Dole Whip and get a picture in front of the Tiki Room, even though most people don't even seem to like the Tiki Room. You just get in the Dole Whip because that's what everyone else does. Social media has played a significant role in transforming Disney merchandise into perceived necessities. Limited edition bedazzled ears, backpacks, and spirit jerseys have become the jewelry of a Disney vacation. Through savvy marketing and social media trends, Disney amplifies the idea that these items are essential to the theme park experience, despite their lavish price tags. Potion purple, rose gold, millennial pink, and whatever these monstrosities are. These trends are carefully cultivated to drive demand. By branding items as limited edition or limited release, Disney creates urgency and boosts sales. Disney's investment in designated Instagram walls around their parks underscores how deliberate this strategy is. These walls encourage guests to showcase their outfits and purchases, fueling the cycle of peer pressure. Because, let's face it, you don't want to be the one missing out on whatever these are. I don't like them, they make me uncomfortable. The profit margins on these items are likely astronomical. Now, we don't know for sure, but bedazzled ears, for instance, would likely cost very little to produce. It's a headband with some sequins on it, but they sell for $35 thanks to their perceived value and reinforced by the Disney brand. If it has that logo on it, it's going to be a little bit expensive. Beyond this, Disney leverages its vast arsenal of recognizable intellectual properties. Classic Disney characters, Marvel, Star Wars, and even brands like The Simpsons, since acquiring Fox, to offer merchandise that capitalizes on fans' emotional connections. But it doesn't stop there. Premium experiences like Savvy's Workshop in Galaxy's Edge elevate merchandise into memory-making events. Here, guests aren't just buying a lightsaber, they're crafting it in a personalized, one-time experience. This emotional connection justifies the steep price and leaves guests less likely to question the cost. I was more than happy to spend $220 on a lightsaber that just sits on my shelf because I had a really good time building it. Disney also employs cost-cutting efficiencies, as any big company would, such as producing generic items in massive quantities and shipping them globally. This approach allows Disney to shuffle supply between parks, maintaining steady demand worldwide. At the same time, they invest in park-specific merchandise, giving guests a way to bring home tangible memories tied to their visit. These items, whether a shirt or a jumper, don't just serve as souvenirs, though. They double as walking billboards, subtly marketing Disney to everyone the wearer encounters. When I lived in Hong Kong after the park closed, throughout the city, you would see everywhere these giant blue bags with Hong Kong Disneyland on them, and they were the only one of its kind, and you could see them from a mile away. It just advertised the brand to everybody in all of Hong Kong and kept you reminded that that park was there. But finally, we arrive at Disney's hotels and resorts, possibly one of the most expensive aspects of any Disney trip. However, this is more interesting because for many, there is an idea that if you don't want to stay at Disney's hotels, then you don't have to, and it won't really negatively affect you. But this isn't entirely true. There are many benefits incorporated into staying at Disney's hotels that you simply cannot get in any other way. Likewise, Disney often owns the land in the vicinity around their park, so if you want to be close, then you've got to pay Disney's prices. And some of those prices are outrageously expensive. Disney knows the value of being able to monorail, skyliner, or walk to a park is infinitely greater than staying off-site, having to drive in and then pay $30 a day in parking. Likewise, as the demand for theme parks has risen, so too has the demand for their hotel rooms, and Disney has capitalized on this demand by continually increasing their prices for their hotels. The profit margins on these hotels are likely enormous, especially when compared to the costs of running a theme park. Operating a hotel, while not without its expenses, is far simpler and less resource intensive than running a park the size of a small city. Hotels don't require constant reinvestment from attractions or entertainment, yet they still benefit from the draw of the parks. For example, when Disney adds new attractions or themed lands, hotel prices can increase in tandem, even though the operational costs of the hotel remain largely unchanged. From budget-friendly value resorts to ultra-luxury accommodations, Disney hotels are priced significantly higher than comparable options outside the parks. And with perks like early park access or convenient transportations, guests feel justified in paying the premium, all while increasing their likelihood of multi-day park visits and, by extension, more spending. What's particularly interesting is the reciprocal relationship between guests and Disney here. By staying on site, guests pay a premium for the exclusivity and convenience of being fully immersed in Disney's world. But in doing so, they also give Disney exclusive access to them. Staying on property means guests are less likely to spend money outside of Disney's ecosystem, from dining to shopping to entertainment. This closed-loop system ensures that more of the guest vacation budget goes directly to Disney, and people are paying for this premium. And even though the prices are rather different between a value resort like Pop Century and a deluxe resort like the Grand Floridian, the overall experience staying on property is relatively the same. You get almost the same benefits and services from Disney no matter where you stay. This may mean that more luxurious hotels may be subsidizing the lesser offerings, but I'd say that either way, Disney is making a healthy profit off of their resorts. On the far end of the spectrum, you also have ultra-premium luxury offerings dedicated to the super fans who are super wealthy. These are those such as Golden Oak, with mansions on Walt Disney World property ranging in the tens of millions. Club 33, an exclusive club where membership starts at $50,000, and 21 Royale, a 15,000 10-person private dinner experience in Disneyland. And then, of course, there are the private tours of the Disney parks that allow you front-of-the-line access to any and every attraction that run up to $900 per hour with a minimum requirement of 7 hours. These allow Disney to maintain their premium luxury status because, once again, higher prices are often associated with higher quality. Disney's theme parks, resorts, and experiences are complex, multi-layered ecosystems designed to effectively balance guest satisfaction and corporate profitability. From the ticket that gets you through the gate to the food, merchandise, hotels, and premium experiences that make up your trip, every aspect of your Disney visit is meticulously calculated to generate revenue. Disney has spent decades cultivating the perception of itself as a luxury brand. By embedding emotional connections, cultural relevance, and perceived value into everything they offer, they've created a system where guests not only accept the high costs, but feel justified in spending even more. It's a masterclass in leveraging psychology, branding, and operational strategy. And yet, Disney's ongoing investment in its parks, $60 billion over the next decade, shows that the stakes are only getting higher. The costs of maintaining and expanding these massive operations continue to rise, but so too does the demand. Disney's ability to innovate while monetizing every facet of the guest experience ensures they remain not just competitive, but dominant in the industry. But the big question is, at what point does the magic come at too high a cost? For now, guests continue to flood the parks, opening their wallets for a piece of the Disney dream. But as prices rise and experiences become increasingly commodified, one has to wonder whether Disney's approach risks alienating the very people who have built its legacy. Those who came not just for luxury, but for a sense of wonder and belonging. But what are your thoughts on this? We'd love to know your opinion, and we read every single comment posted on our videos. But from the home of all things theme parks, I'm Dom from Review Time. Thanks for watching.